Lawfare can be roughly defined in many ways, such as the use of legal systems to resolve contentious political disputes. This mechanism has been a common feature in the most high-profile litigations defining 2023 in South Africa.
What is now known as lawfare is rife, but it's not just in South Africa. I think in any constitutional democracy that happens. But particularly in South Africa, as a young democracy, I suppose there are cases which test the constitution. I mean, we've had some of the biggest cases in this country. You might remember, the Nkandla case, there was the secret ballot case, the impeachment cases.
What is there to reply to?
What would become the biggest political battle in the courts for 2023 is the private prosecution bid of a president by his predecessor.
No, can't talk about that. I'm not a lawyer.
Former President Jacob Zuma got the ball rolling by issuing a summons to his successor, President Cyril Ramaphosa, a day before the ANC's 55th National Conference, a move which may have been construed as a means to undermine Ramaphosa's bid for a second term as ANC president. Zuma accused the president of failing to act on the alleged leak of his health records in his corruption trial in the KZN division of the High Court. Ramaphosa's camp quickly dismissed the summons as a quote-unquote distraction at the time.
It's a minor irritant and distraction. That's all that it is. He's got bigger issues to focus on. He's right in the middle of a very important milestone in the calendar of the governing party. It's a very important milestone in South Africa. The entire world is watching as processes are unfolding. He has to put his best foot forward in terms of the political report that he delivered, in focusing on a positive outcome coming out of this conference. This is just a minor sideshow that does not occupy his time or energy.
Zuma's team, however, held a different view, arguing that Ramaphosa was not legally entitled to ignore the summons.
We would want to see this. We would want to see this happening 19th of January 2023 is the court date. Let him ignore that. Let's see if a warrant of arrest is not going to be issued. So we are daring him to ignore.
For fear of being hauled to the criminal dock on what he termed to be an unlawful process, Ramaphosa quickly launched a legal challenge against the private prosecution itself. The president was successful in obtaining an interdict after a full bench concluded that it was, among other things, an abuse of process and a bid pursued for ulterior purposes. Despite this, the former president keeps up with court dates to ensure that the private prosecution remains on the roll. The next high-profile matter to rock the courts was the suspension of the then Public Protector Advocate Busisiwe Mkhwebane. The suspension took place in close proximity to Mkhwebane sending the so-called 31 questions to the president in a Chapter 9 probe into the robbery on his Phala farm. Mkhwebane successfully challenged the suspension in the Western Cape High Court, which found it to be unlawful and set it aside. The victory was short-lived, however, as the Constitutional Court reached a different conclusion, that Ramaphosa had nothing to gain when he suspended her.
The president did not suspend the public protector to prejudice her. The suspension is only a precautionary one and does no harm to her, as she remains on full pay, has time to properly attend to her defense in the Section 194 inquiry, and suffers no reputational harm, as she is already subject to a highly public inquiry in which the allegations leading to her suspension have been ventilated.
The final matter to shake headlines will be the warrant of arrest issued against Russian President Vladimir Putin by the ICC. This took place as the country was approaching the BRICS summit in Sandton, where Putin was expected to be in physical attendance. In the midst of a perceived lack of assurance from the South African government on its obligations under international law, the Democratic Alliance rushed to the courts to seek that guidance.
The Al-Bashir debacle taught us a lot. That's why, we're going to court with a peremptory action. We're applying for a declaratory order so that, there will be legal certainty as to what the obligations of the South African government are with regards to the attendance of Putin at the BRICS summit.
However, the DA's plans were foiled when the presidency announced just a few days prior to the court hearing that Putin would not be attending the BRICS summit physically. As a result, the parties, by mutual agreement on the day of the hearing, decided not to proceed with the matter. This year, South Africa will head to one of the most hotly contested general elections since 1994. It begs the question, will the courts be required to mediate once again in political disputes that may arise? Canny, Maphanga, SABC News, Johannesburg.